I was looking at the staff directory for a major college football program the other day, just scrolling and scrolling.
Yeah.
You have the head coach, obviously, but then you have the offensive coordinator, the passing game coordinator, the quarterbacks coach, the assistant quarterbacks coach. I think I even saw a sleep and recovery coach.
It's the army of specialization. We live in an era where we slice expertise into thinner and thinner layers.
Oh, coolly.
If you aren't hyper-specialized by the time you're 20, the world tells you you're falling behind.
Exactly. We optimize everything to the nth degree. But today, we are going to look at a stack of sources that tell a completely different story. We're going back to a time, and specifically to a man who didn't just switch lanes. He drove the entire highway.
It really is a fascinating counter-narrative to how we operate today. We're looking at the life and career of Morris Glenn Martin, better known to history as Abe Martin.
And I want to be clear right up front. This isn't just a story about a guy who coached a little peewee football on the weekends. We're talking about a legendary figure at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, SIU, who somehow managed to be the head coach for football, basketball, and baseball.
And if you look closely at the timeline in these records, often at the exact same time.
Right.
Plus, he was the athletic director on top of it all.
It sounds impossible. It sounds like a clerical error. If you tried to do that today at a Division I school, you'd be hospitalized for exhaustion within a month.
No question.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this stat sheet that honestly looks like a typo and figure out how one man became the ultimate generalist in a world that hadn't yet learned to specialize.
It's a great case study in human capacity. And it starts in a place that sounds exactly like where a rugged, do-it-all coach should be from.
Burnt Prairie, Illinois. I mean, come on. That sounds like the setting of a Western movie.
It sets the tone perfectly. He was born there on January 19th, 1906. Now pause and think about that date. 1906. If you're coming of age in the 1920s in rural Illinois, you aren't growing up with a lot of safety nets.
Right. You're growing up fast, and you're probably learning to do a little bit of everything just to get by. The sources show he went to college at Southern Illinois, playing football there from 1929 to 1931. But here's the first little nugget that caught my eye, and I think we need to scrutinize this a bit. The notes say he played professionally for the Chicago Cardinals in the NFL in 1932.
Yes, that's on the resume.
But let's be real for a second. The NFL in 1932 isn't the NFL of today, with the private jets and the billion-dollar TV deals. What does playing in the NFL in 1932 actually mean?
That is a crucial distinction. The NFL in 1932 was, well, it was brutal. It was barely a decade old.
Okay.
We're talking leather helmets, virtually no padding, and playing on fields that were often just dirt patches. The pay was negligible. Many guys had day jobs in factories.
So it wasn't a full-time career.
Not at all. So when we say he played for the Chicago Cardinals, it establishes two things. First, he was an elite athlete, obviously. But second, he was tough. You didn't play in that league unless you could handle serious physical punishment.
So he's got this tough guy credibility. He's a pro athlete. But he doesn't stay in the pros long. He pivots almost immediately into coaching.
Right.
And looking at this early resume, he didn't exactly start at the top.
No, he entered what you might call the high school grinder. He starts at Fairfield High School in 1933.
And I noticed something here. At Fairfield, he's already doing the double duty. He's coaching football and basketball. Was that common back then?
It was almost a necessity. High schools didn't have the budget for separate staffs. If you were the coach, you coached whatever season it was. It forced you to be adaptable. You couldn't just know the gridiron. You had to understand the hardwood.
So he does Fairfield, then moves to Pontiac High School in 36, then Princeton High School in 37. He's bouncing around a lot. Is this a red flag? Was he getting fired, or was he climbing?
He was climbing. In that era, the only way to get a pay bump or a better facility was to move. He was proving himself in different systems, paying his dues, and clearly it worked, because in 1938, he gets the call to come back home.
To his alma mater. He gets hired as an assistant football coach at Southern Illinois Normal University, which is what SIU was called back then.
And he wasn't an assistant for long.
No. In 1939, he takes over the big chair. He succeeds William McAndrew as the head football coach.
And this begins the first major chapter of the Abe Martin era.
Okay, so let's look at the football chapter, because I'm looking at the numbers here, and I have to play devil's advocate. You called him a legend earlier.
I did.
But I'm looking at his head coaching record for football from 1939 to 1949.
Okay, walk me through what you see.
I see an overall record of 31 wins, 42 losses, and 5 ties. That is, well, that's below .500.
That is.
In modern college football, if you go below .500 for a decade, you don't get a statue, you get fired. How do we reconcile this legend status with a losing record?
This is where context is absolutely everything. You cannot look at a spreadsheet from the 1940s and treat it like a spreadsheet from the 2020s. Think about the years. He takes over in 1939. What happens on the global stage shortly after?
World War II breaks out.
Exactly. By 1941 and 1942, the United States is fully mobilizing. The draft is stripping universities of every able-bodied male over the age of 18.
I actually see a note here for the 1943 season. It just says, no team.
That's not a typo. There was literally no team fielded because there were no men left to play.
Wow.
So for the first half of his tenure, Abe Martin isn't just coaching. He's trying to hold a program together with duct tape while the entire demographic of his roster is fighting overseas. It's impossible to build consistency in that environment.
That's a fair point. You can't recruit players who are in basic training, but the war eventually ends. The guys come home. Does the record get better?
It does, and this is the proof of concept. Look at 1947. This is often called the glory year in the source material.
Okay, 1947, the war is over, the roster is back, and the stats jump off the page. They go 7-1.
A massive turnaround.
And they win the Illinois Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Championship. So he proved he could win when the playing field was level.
He did. It was a massive validation. But as sports often go, the decline was quick. The records show back-to-back struggling seasons in 48 and 49, with records of 2-6 and 2-7.
And that marked the end of his tenure as the head football coach. So if we stop the story right here, Abe Martin is a decent football coach who had one great year after the war. Good, but maybe not deep dive worthy.
Right. If he was just a football coach, we probably wouldn't be talking about him. But here's where the story goes off the rails in the best possible way.
Oh.
Because while he is dealing with the football team, remember those lean war years, he decides he doesn't have enough to do.
This is the part I struggle to wrap my head around. In 1943, the same year they couldn't even field a football team, Martin takes over the basketball team.
He steps in as the head basketball coach from 1943 to 1946.
So the football coach is now running the basketball practice, and here's the kicker. Statistically speaking, he was a better basketball coach than a football coach.
The numbers don't lie. He went 43-20 on the court. That's a winning percentage of nearly 70%.
But wait, we need to talk about 1946, because this isn't just about winning a few regional games. The source says he won the NAIA National Championship.
Yes.
Okay, for you listening who might not be sports historians today, the NAIA is sort of seen as a smaller division, separate from the big NCAA tournament. Was it a big deal in 1946, or was this like winning a consolation bracket?
No, this was a huge deal. In 1946, the landscape of college athletics was much flatter. The NAIA tournament was a prestigious national showcase.
It was a legitimate national title.
Legitimate national title.
So let me get this straight. You have Abe Martin, a guy who played in the rugged NFL, a football guy by trade, walking into the gym and out-coaching basketball specialists to win a national title.
That's exactly what happened. And it raises a fascinating point about coaching. We tend to think that to be a great basketball coach, you need to know the specific mechanics of a jump shot better than anyone else.
Sure.
But Martin suggests that coaching is really about competitors.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. He took the same intensity, the same leadership, and the same strategic mind from the football field and applied it to the court. He wasn't teaching them to dribble better. He was teaching them how to win. The mechanics are different, but the pressure of a tie game with 2 minutes left, that's universal.
That's a great insight. He was a master of competitive psychology, regardless of the ball they were using. So he wins the national title in 46. He steps down from basketball. Probably time to take a vacation, right?
You would think.
Maybe focus on that football team that's starting to get its players back.
You would think. But Abe Martin apparently hated free time because as he puts down the clipboard for basketball, he immediately picks up a fungo bat.
This is just getting ridiculous. In 1947, the same year he's coaching that championship football team, he becomes the head baseball coach.
And this wasn't like taking over the New York Yankees. The sources indicate that SIU hadn't fielded a baseball team since 1924.
Wait, hold on. The program was dead?
Dormant for 23 years. There were no uniforms, no equipment, probably barely a field. Martin didn't just coach the team, he resurrected it from the grave.
Wow.
He built the entire program from scratch, starting in the spring of 1947.
And spoiler alert, this actually turned out to be his longest gig.
By far. He coached the baseball team from 1947 all the way until 1965. And if you look at the win totals, baseball was technically his most successful sport.
281 wins, 156 losses. That is a dynasty, especially for a zombie program that didn't exist when he took the job.
It is. But I want to pause here. We've listed the sports: football, basketball, baseball. But to really understand the absurdity of this man's life, we need to look at the calendar year of 1947.
Okay, let's freeze frame 1947. Let's walk through Abe Martin's year.
All right. It starts in the winter. He's just coming off a national championship in basketball. He's likely transitioning the athletes, because remember, back then, the athletes were generalists too.
Right, the quarterback was probably the point guard.
Exactly. Then spring hits. He is launching a brand new baseball program. He's ordering bats, finding a field, organizing tryouts, and coaching the games.
Then summer rolls into fall.
And he puts on his football hat. He leads the football team to a 7-2-1 record and a conference championship.
But there is one more hat he's wearing, isn't there? The one that makes this a total HR nightmare by modern standards.
The administrative hat. Since 1945, Abe Martin had been serving as the athletic director.
Okay, stop. Think about that for a second. He is the athletic director. He's also the head football coach and the head baseball coach. He's his own boss.
It's the ultimate conflict of interest, isn't it?
It's wild. If the football coach has a bad game, does the athletic director call him into the office and yell at him? He'd have to yell at himself in the mirror.
It sounds funny, but it actually might explain his success.
How so?
Because he was the AD, he understood the budget constraints. He understood the scheduling logistics because he was the one making the schedule. And because he was the coach, he knew exactly what the athletes needed.
Ah, no bureaucracy.
Zero. The decision maker and the executor were the same person.
That's true. Today, a coach has to go through 5 layers of administration to get a new tackling dummy. Abe just had to decide to buy it.
Precisely. But it also speaks to the sheer mental bandwidth the man must have had to shift gears from administrative budgets to baseball strategy to football recruiting, all in the same day.
It forces us to ask, have we lost something by getting rid of this model? I mean, obviously you can't do this at the University of Alabama today. The job is too big.
Right.
But on a human level, Abe Martin seemed to have a holistic view of his athletes that a modern specialist just can't have.
I think that's the tragedy of specialization. When you only focus on defensive line technique, you lose sight of the human being. Abe Martin saw these kids year-round. He saw them struggle in the classroom. He saw them win on the court. He saw them lose on the field. He was a father figure in a way that's hard to replicate when you only see a kid for 3 months a year.
So he rides the baseball wave for a long time. He retires from the dugout in 1965, but he sticks around, right?
He does. He stayed on as part of the athletic department until 1971, which was his final retirement from the university.
So he gave roughly 33 years of his life to SIU.
And the university recognized that. The sources mention a pretty significant honor just a year after he left. On April 30, 1972, they dedicated the baseball field as Abe Martin Field.
Which is the ultimate honor. But I did notice a little bittersweet note in the records. If you go to SIU today, the field isn't called that anymore.
That's true. In 2014, the field was renamed to honor a different coach, Richard "Itchy" Jones, who was also a legend in his own right. But it is a reminder that institutional memory fades.
It is. Names come off buildings. But the story remains. Abe Martin lived a long time after that, didn't he?
He did. He passed away on April 17, 1997, at a retirement home in Springfield, Illinois. He was 91 years old.
Born in 1906, died in 1997. Just think about the arc of sports he witnessed. He saw football go from leather helmets and, no forward pass to the West Coast offense.
Oh, yeah.
He saw baseball integrate. He saw basketball go from a ground-bound game to playing above the rim.
And he didn't just watch it. He participated in almost every phase of it.
So when we step back and look at the stack of records, the sub-.500 football record that was actually a heroic effort during the war, the surprise basketball national title, the baseball dynasty, what is the big takeaway for you? Why does Abe Martin matter to someone listening in 2026?
For me, it challenges the narrative that you have to stay in your lane to be successful. We are constantly told to niche down, find your niche, dominate your niche. Yeah. Abe Martin didn't have a niche. His niche was sports. His niche was leadership. And because he refused to specialize, he was able to step in wherever he was needed, whether that was reviving a dead baseball program or saving a war-torn football team. He was the ultimate utility player.
It's the sheer versatility of the contribution that gets me. 3 major sports, an athletic director role, championships in 2 different sports. I mean, honestly, try to find a resume like that today.
You won't, and maybe we shouldn't expect to, but we can certainly learn from the mindset.
That brings us to the thought I want to leave you with today. We live in a world that forces athletes, and let's be honest, all of us, to specialize earlier and earlier. We ask 18-year-olds to pick a major that defines the rest of their lives. We ask 10-year-olds to choose between travel soccer and baseball because they can't do both. But looking at Abe Martin, who did it all and won on the biggest stages, have we lost the valuable perspective that comes from being a jack of all trades?
It's a question worth asking. Sometimes the best way to understand the game is to play all of them.
Couldn't have said it better. That's it for this deep dive into the life of the ultimate generalist, Abe Martin. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.